It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon when Jason's life changed forever. A dedicated manager at a mid-sized tech firm, Jason had finally stolen a rare moment for himself. Work had been relentless, deadlines loomed like storm clouds, and it felt as though he hadn't truly taken a deep breath in weeks. On a sudden whim, he decided to extend his lunch break a little longer than usual. He had no way of knowing that this small decision would soon unravel his entire world. Jason was a man of routine. Every day, without fail, he ate lunch at the same deli near his office. But that day, something in him wanted a change. He drove across town to a quaint little cafe he and his wife, Amanda, used to visit back in their dating days. It had been years since they'd last been there, but nostalgia tugged him back. As he stepped inside, the warm aroma of freshly brewed coffee and oven-fresh pastries wrapped around him, coaxing a faint smile from his weary face. Choosing a quiet corner table by the window, he ordered a sandwich and pulled out his phone to sift through a few emails. Around him, the soft murmur of conversations created a soothing backdrop. He gazed through the glass, watching the world drift by, feeling a rare and welcome sense of calm. And then, he saw her. At first, he thought he was mistaken. Amanda should have been at work, miles from here. Yet there she was, walking hand in hand with another man. She was laughing, a light, carefree laugh Jason hadn't heard from her in years. The two stopped just outside the cafe, their faces close, an unmistakable intimacy flickering between them. A cold shiver rippled through him. Jason's heartbeat thundered in his chest. He sat frozen, unable to move, unable even to think clearly. Through the glass, he watched Amanda and the man step into a small boutique across the street. For a moment, he considered brushing it off, convincing himself there must be a perfectly reasonable explanation. But a stubborn, uneasy suspicion gnawed at him, refusing to let go. With his stomach twisted in knots, Jason decided to follow. He paid for his meal quickly and stepped into the crisp afternoon air, his mind racing with questions. Who was this man? And what was Amanda doing with him, and why here, of all places? Keeping a careful distance, Jason trailed them into the boutique. From between racks of clothing, he watched Amanda select a few items, stepping out from behind a curtain to model them for the man. Each time, he nodded in quiet approval, his expression warm and full of admiration. They moved together with the easy familiarity of a couple deeply in love, completely oblivious to the rest of the world. With every moment, Jason's chest tightened. After what felt like an eternity, they left the boutique and began walking toward a nearby hotel. Jason's stomach twisted into knots as he watched them step inside without a backward glance. He remained rooted to the sidewalk, the reality slowly crushing down on him. His wife was having an affair, and he had just stumbled upon it during what was supposed to be an ordinary lunch break. Jason's mind spun out of control, thoughts colliding and scattering, anger, betrayal, sadness, confusion. But within the chaos, one thing crystallized: he needed to confront Amanda. Not here. Not now. He needed a plan. That evening, Jason returned home, the weight of his discovery pressing heavily on his chest. Amanda was already there, greeting him with a warm smile and a kiss on the cheek. The moment felt unreal, like stepping into a parallel universe where everything appeared perfectly normal, but an ugly truth lurked beneath the surface. "How was your day?" she asked, her tone light and casual. Jason forced a smile, his mind screaming with questions he couldn't yet bring himself to voice. "It was fine," he said, keeping his tone even. "Busy as usual." They sat down for dinner, making their way through the usual small talk. Amanda seemed completely at ease, as though nothing at all was amiss. Jason found himself quietly studying her composure, wondering how she could carry on so naturally after what he had seen. Days passed, and Jason swung between the urge to confront her and the decision to gather more evidence. In the end, he chose patience. He would wait, watch, and see if more signs emerged. And his patience was rewarded. Over the next few weeks, small changes in Amanda's behavior became impossible to ignore, late nights at the office, sudden trips out of town, and a growing habit of guarding her phone. Piece by piece, Jason began assembling the puzzle, his suspicions hardening into certainty with each passing day. Jason hired a private investigator to follow Amanda, determined to obtain undeniable proof of her affair. The waiting was agony, every day felt stretched thin with tension, but he knew he needed solid evidence before confronting her. When the investigator finally delivered the report, Jason's worst fears were laid bare. Photos, timestamps, and meticulous notes documented Amanda's secret meetings with a man named David. The report revealed they had been seeing each other for months, sharing stolen afternoons and quiet getaways, living a parallel life Jason had never suspected. That night, Jason sat alone, poring over the evidence again and again. Each image, each line of text, was another knife to the heart. Anger, hurt, and betrayal surged through him in relentless waves. The life he thought he knew had been nothing but an illusion, and the woman he loved had broken their vows. Yet, beneath the pain, a strange sense of clarity took shape. He knew exactly what he needed to do. The next morning, Jason asked Amanda to sit with him at the kitchen table. The weight of the past few weeks pressed into his features, his eyes heavy, his expression resolute. "Amanda, we need to talk," he began, his voice steady but thick with emotion. Her brows furrowed, a flicker of concern crossing her face. "What's wrong?" Jason reached into his bag, pulled out the investigator's report, and slid it across the table. "This," he said quietly. Amanda's eyes widened. Her hands shook as she opened the folder, scanning the pages. The color drained from her face, and tears began to gather. "Jason, I can explain," she stammered. He lifted a hand, stopping her. "Don't. I've seen enough. I just want to know, why?" Amanda's shoulders slumped, her gaze falling to her hands. "I don't know," she whispered. "I never meant to hurt you. It just happened." Her words struck deep, twisting the knife in his chest. "I trusted you, Amanda. We built a life together. How could you throw it all away?" Tears streamed freely down her face. She tried to speak, but no words came. The silence between them was crushing. In the days that followed, Jason moved out. He couldn't bear to remain in a house that now felt like a prison of broken dreams. He filed for divorce, knowing the trust between them was beyond repair. Amanda reached out many times, pleading for forgiveness. But Jason knew the truth, there was no going back. The love they had once shared was now poisoned by betrayal, and nothing could restore it. So he began to rebuild. He poured his energy into his career, surrounding himself with the unwavering support of friends and family. He explored new hobbies, sought out fresh experiences, and slowly rediscovered the version of himself that had existed before the weight of marriage, and its eventual collapse, had consumed him. One afternoon, while walking through the park, Jason's gaze fell on a young family playing together. The children's laughter rang through the air, and the warmth in their parents' smiles stirred something deep within him. For the first time in months, a fragile spark flickered inside, a spark of hope. Hope that despite the pain, the heartbreak, and the shadows of the past, life could move forward. Hope that, one day, happiness might find him again. With that quiet hope as his guide, Jason took his first step toward a new beginning, choosing to release the past and embrace the endless possibilities of the future. His journey had been one of heartbreak and betrayal, but also of resilience and rediscovery. He had walked through the darkest chapters of his life and emerged stronger, ready to face the unknown and carve his path toward happiness once more.